Dear students, today we are going to discuss voice. So this is supposed to be quite an easy and at the same time a difficult chapter. This is because the changing of the voice from the active into the passive involves a lot of rules regarding tenses and the object and the subject. So let us start now and discuss how we shall deal with this. Now when we say voice, all of us know that there are two types, the active and the passive. So a sentence is said to be of the active voice if the subject does the action. And of course you know what the subject is. Subject, that which does the action, or what we speak about, that is the subject. So when the subject does the action, it is of the active voice. If the subject is passive, that is something is done to the subject, then the sentence is of the passive voice. Now let us see how to classify this as active and passive and what the differences are in these two types. Now we also talk about transitive and intransitive verbs. Now transitive verbs, they take an object. So such sentences can be converted into the passive, whereas intransitive, they do not have an object and therefore they cannot be converted into the passive. Now I'll give you some more examples. The same verb can be used as the transitive verb and as an intransitive verb. For example, if I say cook, I could say mother cooks food. Mother cooks what? Food. Now how do we identify the object? Put the question what or whom to the verb. The answer obtained is the object. So mother cooked what? Food. So cook is a transitive verb in this sentence. Suppose I say mother cooks well. Then I could only ask you the question how. Mother cooks how? Well. We do not get the answer to what, and therefore this is intransitive. The verb cooks is intransitive. So that is how we classify it. We'll just go deeper into this and analyze the different types. Now look at the sentence. Everyone wears a mask. Everyone is the subject. Wears is the verb. Everyone wears what? A mask. So a mask is the object. And as I told you earlier, the subject everyone does the action. So this sentence is of the active voice. Now look at this sentence. A mask is worn by everyone. So here, which is the subject? A mask. So the mask does not do any action here. Something is done to it. A mask is worn by whom? By everyone. So this is of the passive. Now you got to note down some important points while transforming a sentence from the active into the passive. Points to be noted. The subject of the sentence, that is of the active voice, becomes the object in the passive. The object of the sentence, that is of the active voice, becomes the subject in the passive. For example, consider that sentence, everyone wears a mask. So in the active voice, everyone is the subject. Whereas in the passive, a mask is worn by everyone, everyone becomes the object. Similarly, going back to the sentence of the active voice, everyone wears a mask. Now answer, a mask is worn by everyone. So a mask, which is the object of the active voice, becomes the subject in the passive form. And look at the change done to the verb. Wears becomes is worn. That is be plus past participle. That is the third point. The verb is of the structure be plus past participle in the passive. Then remember, the tense of the verb remains the same. For example, everyone wears a mask. Wears is of the simple present. Answer, a mask is worn by everyone. So is worn again simple present. Also remember, an interrogative sentence remains interrogative even on being converted into the passive. So if I give you a sentence which is of the question form, then while converting it, you should retain the question form. Now, in some sentences, you get two objects. So what do you do then? So put the question what to the verb. The answer obtained is the direct object. Put the question whom to the verb. The answer obtained is the indirect object. So while converting into the passive, you'll get two answers in the passive form because there are two objects. I'll discuss this with more examples later. Then some sentences do not indicate the doer, that is by someone, in the passive. So when does this happen? When the doer is obvious, when you're sure, when you feel that it is not necessary to imply the doer, it is understood. Then when the action is of greater importance than the agent. So more than who does the action, by whom it was done, by whom. So you can omit that part and simply stop the action. Now we shall deal with sentences of different tenses because the main focus is on tense. You cannot give a standard conversion for every sentence. You should first analyze and find out which tense the verb is and then apply the grammatical rule accordingly and transform it into the passive. So we shall start with simple past. I should also give you interrogative sentences and teach you to convert them into interrogative answers of the passive. Now when we talk about simple present, the structure of the verb in the passive, it is of this form: is or are or am plus past participle of the verb. Remember, be plus past participle. So is, was, are, were, am. All these are be forms of verbs. Now sentence 1. I give my students a test every week. So naturally I is the subject, give is the verb. So I give who? My students, indirect object. I give what? A test, direct object. So when I convert it into the passive, I word it this way. I give my students what? A test. So I start with the direct object. A test is given to my students every week. When I consider the indirect object, my students are given a test every week. So when I spoke about a test as the subject, it is singular. So I've used is given, be plus past participle. Whereas the second sentence, my students, students plural and therefore the verb is also plural, are given. So again be plus past participial form. Now one more sentence. Does Ram conduct meetings regularly? It has a question mark. Now I'll teach you some simple steps in order to arrive at the answer easily. So first convert it into a statement. Does Ram conduct meetings? It is of the simple present. So Ram does conduct or Ram conducts meetings regularly. Now convert it into the passive. Ram conducts what? Meetings. So meetings are conducted by Ram regularly. So what you do is very simple. You want it to become a question. So shift the auxiliary or the question word to the beginning. Which is the question word here? Are. Remember to have a capital A for are. So take it to the beginning. Are meetings conducted regularly by Ram? You have a question mark there. Therefore your answer is still interrogative. So that is how you transform sentences of the simple present. We move on to the present continuous. Here the rule is or are or am plus being plus past participle of the verb. Sentence 1. My sister is cleaning the room. My sister is cleaning what? The room. So your answer, the room is, you should add the word being. So from cleaning, that ing form is added to be. Be plus ing, being. So the room is being cleaned by whom? By my sister. That is your answer in the passive. Sentence number 2. The chief guest is distributing prizes to the winners. Here again, if you analyze the sentence, you find that you got two objects. The chief guest is distributing what? Prizes. Direct object. The chief guest is distributing prizes to whom? To the winners. The winners, indirect object. So I get two answers in the passive. So answer number 1 with the direct object, prizes. Prizes plural are being distributed to whom? To the winners by the chief guest. That is your answer using the direct object as the subject. Answer number 2. The winners are being distributed prizes by the chief guest. So here you have the winner's indirect object as the subject. Then third sentence, as I told you, it is an interrogative one. Is your brother watering the plants now? So please convert it into a statement. Your brother is watering the plants now. Your brother is watering what? The plants. So subject is the plants, plural. The plants are being watered by your brother now. So I've already given you the clue. Bring the auxiliary to the beginning. So are the plants being watered by your brother now? Question mark and capital A for are. So you shouldn't forget these. Otherwise it will be marked wrong. We move on to the present perfect tense. Here the rule is has or have plus been plus past participle of the verb. Why are there two verbs here? Has for singular and have for plural. And here you have B-E-E-N. Like how we had being for the earlier one, continuous tense. Here you got B-E-E-N. Now let us move on to the sentences. Number 1. Sheila has submitted a report. Sheila has submitted what? a report. A report is the object. So in the passive, a report, you got has submitted in the question. So has been submitted, that is your answer. A report has been submitted by Sheila. Number 2, the watchman has checked all the rooms. So the rooms is your subject. Remember, it is plural. So you have to select have here. All the rooms have been checked by the watchman. Now we move on to an interrogative sentence. Has he distributed the invitations? So as I told you earlier, convert it into a statement. He has distributed the invitations. He has distributed what? The invitations. The invitations, plural, have been distributed. Here I am omitting by him. It is understood. Definitely by someone. So as usual, I bring the auxiliary to the beginning. So it is have with a capital H. Have the invitations been distributed? Question mark. Move on to the past. So simple past, the rule is was or were plus past participle of the verb. Number 1, the audience welcomed the chief guest. They can welcome by cheering or clapping or whatever it is, but they welcomed the chief guest. The audience welcomed whom? The chief guest. So chief guest singular, so I choose was. The chief guest was welcomed by the audience. Number 2, we performed many experiments. We performed what? Many experiments. That is your object. That becomes the subject in your answer in the passive. Third sentence is an interrogative sentence. Did he invite you to the party? So please convert it into the statement. Did he invite you? He invited or he did invite you to the party. So he invited whom? You. So you will turn into the subject in the passive. You were invited to the party. So by him can be omitted. So as usual, take the auxiliary to the beginning of the sentence. Have a capital letter. Were you invited to the party? So where with capital W, were you invited to the party ends with a question mark. So that is how you deal with the simple past. We move on to the past continuous tense. So here again singular plural. So was or were plus same as found in the present tense being, being plus past participle of the verb. So sentence number 1, the boys were writing a test. The boys subject were writing verb. The boys were writing what? A test. So that becomes your subject in the passive. A test singular. So I use was. A test was being written. Write, wrote, written. Written is the past participial form. So a test was being written by the boys. Sentence number 2. The teacher was issuing report cards. Now just note that report cards is of the plural form. So report cards I'll choose were being issued by the teacher. Interrogative sentence, sentence number 3. Was the manager giving you projects frequently? It ends with a question mark. So I convert it into a statement. The manager was giving you projects frequently. The manager was giving whom? You. Indirect object. Was giving what? Projects, direct object. So you have two answers in the passive form. I'll start with the indirect object you. So you were, I use were after you. You were being given projects frequently by the manager. Now this is a statement. To convert it into a question, I take where to the beginning with the capital W. Were you being given projects frequently by the manager? Question mark. So that is answer number 1. Answer number 2, direct object projects. Projects plural. So I choose where. Projects were being given to you frequently by the manager. Statement. To make it into a question, interrogative sentence, take where to the beginning. Were projects being given to you frequently by the manager? Don't forget the question mark. Now we move on to the past perfect tense. Had plus been, been plus past participle of the verb. Now whether the subject is singular or plural, you have only had, had. Only for present perfect you have has and have. Has for the singular and have for the plural. Here for the past perfect, had for both singular and plural. Sentence 1, we had designed a new mechanism. So a new mechanism is your object. That becomes the subject of the sentence in the passive. A new mechanism, singular or plural doesn't make any difference. Now it is singular, had been designed by us. I use by us because I am emphasizing that we had designed, not somebody else. So a new mechanism had been designed by us. Second sentence, it's a question, interrogative sentence. Had the inspector checked all the vehicles? Question mark. So I converted it into a statement as usual. The inspector had checked all the vehicles. The inspector had checked what? All the vehicles. So all the vehicles had been checked by the inspector. As usual, take had to the beginning of the sentence, have a capital H. So had all the vehicles, BEEN, been checked by the inspector? Question mark. So that is how you convert the past perfect tense. And remember, past perfect continuous tense has no passive form. We move on to the future tense. In future tense, the rule for the passive, will or shall or would or should plus be, be plus past participle of the verb. Sentence number 1, the chief minister will inaugurate the exhibition. The chief minister will inaugurate what? The exhibition, that is the object. So that becomes the subject of the sentence in the passive form. So I start with those words, the exhibition. Now will inaugurate changes to will be inaugurated. By whom? By the chief minister. So the answer is the exhibition will be inaugurated by the chief minister. Sentence number 2, will the participants receive a certificate? Interrogative sentence. So naturally it ends with a question mark. I convert it into a statement. The participants will receive a certificate. So what is my answer here? The participants will receive what? A certificate. A certificate will be received by the participants. So I take the auxiliary to the beginning of the sentence. So I start with will, capital W. Will a certificate be received by the participants? Question mark. Now we move on to the future perfect. So here again it is will or would or shall plus have, because it is perfect. You have been plus past participle of the verb. So sentence number 1, they would have closed the shops by now. Would have closed, right? So who does the action? They. They do the action of closing the shops. They would have closed the shops by now. Moodi irupanga nama solrom. Now answer in the passive. They would have closed what? The shops. So the shops would have closed changes to would have been closed. The shops would have been closed by now. By them inga venda. It is understood. Definitely somebody has to close the shops. The owners or perhaps the workers. So no need to include the agent. It is obvious. Number 2, it's an interrogative sentence. Will they summon all the workers to the meeting? So I convert it into a statement. They will summon all the workers to the meeting. They will summon whom? All the workers. That is my object. So that becomes a subject in the passive form. So all the workers, then verb will summon changes to will be summoned. So all the workers. Now here we shall move on to the future perfect tense now. The rule is will or would or shall plus have, because it is perfect, have been plus past participle of the verb. Sentence number 1, they would have closed the shops by now. They would have closed what? The shops. So the passive form starts with the object of the active form. The shops would have closed is the verb I find in the question. So it will change to would have been closed. So what is my answer? The shops would have been closed by now. Now question 2, interrogative sentence. Will they have summoned all the workers to the meeting? That is called. Summoned is called. So will they have summoned whom? All the workers. All the workers is the object. Now I convert it into a statement. They will have summoned all the workers to the meeting. They will have summoned whom? All the workers. So all the workers. Now in my question the verb is will have summoned. In the answer, in the passive, it changes to will have been summoned. So the answer is all the workers will have been summoned to the meeting. Again you can omit by them. So how do I convert it into the interrogative? I take the helping verb, the auxiliary will to the beginning. So, will all the workers have been summoned to the meeting? Question mark. So, again future perfect continuous has no passive form. So, once again I reiterate, the following tenses cannot be written in the passive form. Future continuous, future perfect continuous. Then past perfect continuous, present perfect continuous. So, what are the tenses that we have discussed so far? Simple present, present continuous, present perfect. Simple past, past continuous, past perfect. Simple future, future perfect. Right? Now, we move on to commands, requests and infinitives. First sentence, call everyone in. Normally in commands you don't get the subject. The subject is understood. When I say call everyone, I mean you call everyone. The subject is understood. So, call everyone in. Call whom? Everyone. So, my answer, let everyone be called in. So, same rule, be plus past participle. Let everyone be called in. Sentence 2, serve us food. So, again the subject you is understood. Now, serve us food. Serve whom? Us, indirect object. Serve what? Food, direct object. So, let food be served to us. So, using the direct object, my answer in the passive is let food be served to us. Then I go to the indirect object and here my answer is let us be served food. Let us be served food. Then sentence number 3, you are to respect elders. To respect, infinitive form. So, you are to respect whom? Elders. So, elders are to be respected. So, again same rule, 2 plus be plus past participle. Elders are to be respected. One more infinitive form. Suman is to settle all his debts before leaving abroad. Suman is to settle what? All his debts. So, is present tense. So, I will maintain the same tense. All his debts are to be settled. In the question I had to settle. So, now in the answer I had to be settled. All his debts are to be settled by Suman before leaving abroad. So, now we come to the last part of transformation, general statements. So, when you look at the example, you will understand what the sentence conveys and how to change it. Number 1, people say that the price of gold will continue to rise. Okay. Now, here find out which the transitive verb is. People say something. Okay. So, something is said by people. So, say is your transitive verb. People say what? The whole thing becomes the answer. So, people say something. Instead of something, replace it with the second part. You cannot start with that. Now, people say it. People say something. People say it. People say it. It is said. So, don't write by people. By people can be omitted. So, it is said. Copy the second part as it is. It is said that the price of gold will continue to rise. The second part is retained. So, people say is transformed. People say something. People say it. It is said. We can omit by people. It is said that the price of gold will continue to rise. Next sentence. They say that Ram is well disciplined. Again same logic, same structure, same formation. They say it. They say something. So, you got two answers in this type. They say it. It is said. Again by them can be omitted. It is said. So, second part can be retained. It is said that Ram is well disciplined. The other answer in this case, because it talks about a human being here, Ram is said to be a well disciplined person. The attribute goes to Ram. The quality belongs to Ram. So, Ram is said to be well disciplined. Dear students, to test whether you understood this article clearly, I shall give you a short test. So, here are some sentences of the active form. You are required to transform them into the passive. Sentence number 1, my uncle writes novels. Sentence 2, the boy hit the snake with a stick. Sentence 3, the children are reciting poems. Sentence 4, the teacher has completed the portions. Sentence 5, has he invited you to the party? Sentence 6, will they have completed the project by next month? Seventh one, my brother showed me a lot of photographs. Last one, will you reconsider your decision? Now students, we'll try a slightly difficult task, converting the passive form into the active. So here again you got to be very careful. So the first sentence, the culprits will be caught soon. Number 2, the forms would have been submitted by next week. Third one, have you been shortlisted for the competition? Then fourth one, were the papers checked by the officials? And the last one, all the answers have been marked right. So now we have discussed the different types of tenses and how to convert sentences of these tenses into the passive form. So remember all the rules. If you remember the rules, you will never go wrong in your conversion. Transformation is very, very important. Normally the tendency is to use a simple past in conversion for all types of sentences. So please don't do that. That is the mistake that children normally make. So please read the entire sentence, find out the tense form of the verb and then make the conversion accordingly. In order to make the conversion right, I have given you a few tips with the rules, with the structure of the verb in each form in the passive. So remember the tense forms and the rules. And as I pointed out earlier, remember the subject-object change from the active into the passive and the structure of the verb be plus past participle. So it depends upon the various tenses. So with good practice, you can score very high in grammar. And please do at least 3 to 4 sentences every day in this transformation of active to passive. And definitely all of you will score high. Read, understand and then practice. Thank you.